Welcome back, venturers. It's time for another discussion about VN. I am MR, and together with Taurus, we want to bring up the topic of mystery elements. Ooh, how mysterious. What happened here? Are those clues? Did anybody witness those events? Who's behind all of that? And finally, who is the killer? Da da da. Taurus, what is your thesis?
You're making it sound like a scary visual novel instead. Mysteries don't necessarily have to be scary, but of course there's always that element of danger involved, so yeah, I see where you're coming from. The murder mystery is the classic, of course. But yes, mystery is a common genre of storytelling, and of course, it's going to have a big impact on several visual novels. And so for this episode, MR and I are going to discuss the elements of a good mystery. Just thinking about it from a nuts and bolts angle, all the parts that combine together to make a mystery story so engrossing. And I feel like there's a lot of moving parts actually for a good mystery. I would even say more so than any other kind of slice of life or romance or action or any sort of that. The mystery has to have the most moving parts going on. And so if we start going down the list and we think about it, for one thing, we obviously need to start with the crime. The inciting incident, you could say, the thing that has gone terribly wrong that our protagonist now needs to fix. And it's a very important aspect, of course, because this should be the entire foundation for the story. After all, when someone gets murdered, that's the case that we're going to solve. And it's not like we can change our mind halfway through, or it's not like we can just forget about it early on.
I got over it, okay?
So it's the crime, and I guess you could also say that's the hook for making this visual novel so unique, for differentiating this title from anything else on the Steam storefront, and it convinced you to buy it. MR, do you have any cool examples right off the bat before I get going?
About mystery involving murders? I don't necessarily read that. I wanted to maybe even say that the central piece, the central mystery, not necessarily has to involve any kind of criminal activity. It could be as easy as there's a mysterious dungeon and you want to get to the bottom of what is happening there.
What kind of title does that? Getting to the bottom?
The easiest example I have from the recent reads would be Gears of Dragoon. It's a very adventurous title, all about delving deeper into the ever-expanding, or so they think, dungeon, and going to the bottom what it's deal. What's going on?
Yeah, and the crux of it is the why. That's the burning question. That's the desire propelling them all forward, right?
Exactly. This is one of those titles that, how can I say it, has a very nice structure of acts. You have a very good fragmentation. And I feel like some mysteries don't necessarily do that. They have one big string of
I'm sorry,
single
they have what?
thread. One single thread of mystery and doesn't have a good breaking points of, okay, given the current state of investigation, for example, 20%, how do you reevaluate everything? And I feel like I said, I haven't read that many mysteries. Some of the titles tend to drag on the single story beat throughout, without any good stopping points. And I remember Gears of Dragoon had a very nice, maybe even with, instead of breaking point, I could say turning points that reevaluate all your clues and findings so far.
As for me, I wanted to point out Ace Attorney, because in Ace Attorney, in the original trilogy, for the first case or so, they would show you like a cutscene of the moment of the murder. And they'd even show you the killer who was involved. It was just a short cutscene to really set the mood and, in a sense, spoil you. But I think it worked because it gets you interested. It throws the player right into the thick of the action by seeing what ultimately happened, and now you are Phoenix Wright, and it's up to you to figure this all out from scratch, to put together all of the why and the how it happened, and then how you could prove in court that this person is the murderer. You know, Ace Attorney, it's a game that's a lot more about the whole process of finding someone guilty and poking holes in all the contradictions. So I don't think it really hurt, actually, to give away the murder right at the start. Plus, in later cases, they don't need to spoil you anyways. At that point, it's like they've won you over, hopefully.
True. Although, honestly, I have played only the first game, which consists of 6 cases, if I remember correctly.
5.
5? Oh, sorry, then 5. And I remember it has a very nice pace in which you had proceeding in the judge with the jury, and then you go out to the gather clues, and then you go back to the trial. I think like that was super cool pace.
Ace Attorney trials, they can take 2 days in court. So you do your investigation, and then you show up in court, and then through all the twists and turns, it's like, we're gonna have to adjourn this, and we're gonna task both of the lawyers to go out and investigate and build their cases more in light of new information. And then they return for the definitely final second day. Yeah, it breaks up the pacing a little. Yeah.
The push and pull in Ace Attorney was always amazing from the ones I've played, because you felt at least somewhat confident, okay, I'll prove it, but then you had your opposition, your rival, who puts your evidence to scrutiny, and like, wait a moment, maybe it's not as foolproof as I thought initially. That was amazing. I love that in Ace Attorney.
So of course you need a strong hook for any story, but especially that for any sort of mystery. Another important element is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is important for every sort of title, of course. But I always liked it because the atmosphere is what helps sell that the whole world is against you. It's not enough that as a main character, you're ramming your head into the wall, trying to figure out this strange chain of events, and you're figuring out the rationale and all of the puzzles involved. It's always really put it over the top when the title can make it seem like the whole world is just hoping for your downfall. Like the best example for that is like Cartogra or Kara no Shoujo, where it's just such a depressing atmosphere. It's snowing, and all of the people you talk to are a little down on their luck, and the murders that are just continuing with that serial killer on the loose. It just makes it so depressing to read. And that's what really adds to the stakes, in my opinion. I thought that one was great on that front.
When we talk about atmosphere, the first title, and I wonder if you agree with me that it's mystery or not, that comes to my mind has to be Man Demon. Because I remember that had that atmosphere of constrained environment, and somewhere in this space is the killer. Who is it? Dun dun dun.
Especially since Man Demon, it was weird. You would think you'd wake up with the amnesia and you get yourself situated in this strange, like, war-torn landscape with your classmates, and suddenly you wake up and now you're in a completely different bright green spring with the schools all weird. It kept you on your toes.
Exactly.
It wasn't just the mystery that did it, but it was just the general story beats and your environment. Yeah, Man Demon was great about that, yeah. And then especially with the time elements too, yeah?
Oh, yeah, it was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely kept you second guessing your even own thesis and conclusions. Like, wait, is that really how it goes?
Also, I don't give it praise too much, but Meteor World Actor. There's so much I could say about Meteor World Actor that was good.
Remember, stay positive. Stay positive.
Yeah, totally. And one of it was just the atmosphere it took in. It was an urban fantasy, so he's living in the middle of a big city. And as the police officer detective, our main character got to see a lot of the seedy underbelly of like the criminal world. All the back alleys filled with slimy criminals and shady nightclubs that we visited. A lot of the city really felt like it was like stepping into a viper's nest. There was just danger at every corner. Even when some parts of the plot weren't related to our current mystery we're trying to solve, it still always seemed dangerous. And, the atmosphere really builds towards making a good mystery. We always got to stay on our toes, man. Again, an atmosphere is important for every title to help sell the mood. But whenever there's danger involved in a mystery, yes.
Oh, it definitely contributes to mystery. I can't say more than, but it's a crucial component. Sell the mystery and high stakes. Because if you don't sell that, then it's not as crucial or important. Like, okay, something is bad happening, okay. But who cares if we live in a happy land, okay?
A lot of them wish they lived in Happy Land.
True. What's fair.
Now, what about the characters? Or especially the villain?
When we talk about mystery and when we talk about the villains, and specifically avoiding any spoilers, that doesn't leave me with many choices. But I still go back to Happy Maya. That was a title that had very early established villain that was so intriguing you wanted to go to the bottom of it. It wasn't necessarily a story about murder, but it was definitely about mystery. And the recurring villain in all the routes throughout the adventure was the little sister of the main protagonist. And that was such an interesting concept. Man, and that was so interesting how this character kept you on your toes. And just to recap what this title is about, is about lucid dreaming. So your sister was the antagonist that kept appearing in your lucid dreams and kept getting in your way, so to speak. As a protagonist, you wanted to wake up instead of go and sleep further in, like an Inception kind of movie. So unique.
Yeah, that whole idea of dreams being a part of the reality, but it's not because it's all in your head. Very interesting. Especially for mysteries that so often rely on knowledge and information.
Exactly.
Something that can get conveyed in your dreams is a whole new possibility.
Think about this. A lot of mysteries that center about some tragedy, maybe murder, also center around logic. And that's something that can be provable. Maybe uses some fantasy flair and superpowers, but often logic. The moment you step into dreams, all bets are off. Everything can be crazy in the dreams.
Speaking of villains and characters, in Cartogra, there's a little sister character who also questionably helps you out. She's definitely one of the more interesting people in the VN, because she seems to know more than she's letting on, and she helps our main character out with a lot of the thornier parts of the detectiving. But on the other hand, she seems to be putting herself in a lot of danger, and she's very independent and kind of leaves you behind. So it's like, how much really can we trust you? In a sense, there's another little mystery within the whole detectiving in the first place.
So you have a certain helper that is of questionable allegiance, whether or not it's actually helping or being on the other side. Okay. Although I did not expect this episode to turn into the Little Sister retrospective.
Oh my god.
But sure.
But of course, the problem with any mystery and talking about the villains is that the villain is kind of meant to be hidden. In fact, there's a lot of times you don't even see the villain until the very end when you can discover their identity. But on the other hand, there's, the other classic kind of whodunit where the killer is someone who was in your midst the whole time, and then you get to the end, the reveal, and you're like, gasp, this side character who you've been trusting the whole time was really the culprit.
And then, how could they?
Exactly. And so it kind of adds a whole layer of them being two-faced, or maybe they were deceiving you the entire time. I've learned the hard way that you should really... you gotta be really careful with your opinions on reviewing Mystery VN until you've finished. Because sometimes you're gonna complain about things and then you look really stupid at the end.
Okay. Did you jump the gun on some VNs?
There's been a few times, yeah. I've been like, this stuff makes no sense, or this character is stupid. And then I'm like, oh crap, I got played.
And now it looks so stupid now, huh?
Uh-huh, yep. That's why it's interesting. Like, if you look at the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, you know all the characters. They're all there on the train. Someone, really, really murdered Sonic the Hedgehog. And you have to go around interrogating everyone, and there's someone, and you always have to suspect everyone, but... you'd like to think that they're all innocent. You want to believe their stories and all of that. But then there's other titles, like 428, where the mastermind is supposedly in the shadows the whole time. And you're out chasing them the whole story, trying to piece together info. And it's like, a character who seemingly doesn't exist, but exists outside the boundaries of the visual novel. Like, so the person behind the curtain.
Is the 428 Shibuya Scramble?
Yes. Okay. So the whole portrayal of a villain is also something that's just so unique to any kind of mystery story. All of the how much spotlight there's going to be on it, and the trust involved in all the other characters, because you don't know how guilty are they really.
True, although when it comes to how you, the reader, feel about the villain, is, in my opinion, connected to how the trail of clues are scattered throughout the adventure. Because, as an example, I was really, really pleasantly surprised that I remember the experience of gathering from small clues the bigger picture in Naira Reincarnation. That was a title in which you are the detective, but you have the special ability of making contact with some supernatural beings, and those supernatural beings have some sort of superpowers, such as telemetry. They could try to measure the atmosphere or maybe look into the memory of objects, and that was very cool because you slowly, through adventure with those characters, unveiled piece by piece what happened. And then you, as the reader, you can piece together who was it and what really transpired. That was really cool. One of the few purely detectivistic VNs that didn't hold your hand. I really enjoyed that. Because to its credit, how Ace Attorney was good, ultimately there was a lot of help from the game for you to progress the story. I feel like, for better or worse, and then Reincarnation had more leaps of logic, and depending on how much you paid attention, you could foresee it or you were completely flabbergasted.
That's true. Speaking of which, I think the first Connor no Shoujo does that too. At some point in the story, they're just like, okay, now it's time for you to piece together a lot of the mysteries. They give you the quiz. He starts mulling things over in his mind. It's like, how did this get over there? And they give you like the multiple choices and you have to pick the correct one. And it's like, oh God. Oh, I'm being directly questioned about this. I'm the detective now.
Yeah. Did you pay attention?
Oh, no. No, of course not. I got a bad ending.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And speaking of which, about this whole, the trail of clues, the build-up in the mystery. Visual novels being multiple choice gives that a lot of flexibility. In a lot of ways, this can be your own progression through the story, because if you follow the wrong path, then you get put on a bad ending, and the game kind of explicitly tells you that, hey, you screwed up, go back to this last choice, get it right. Just like how video games like Ace Attorney or Danganronpa, they'll outright tell you that was wrong, and then they'll take off some of your health, and then you have to try that guess again. VNs do that as well. And I think that's a great way of adding the stakes to the player themselves when you give multiple choices. It's not so much like any other, kind of like a slice of life title where you make a choice and it's just how you want the story to develop and, who you're romantically inclined to. No, these are more like you need to get the right answer or this story is going to reach an untimely end. It's more like questioning your skills and, somewhat the main character skills, but really you.
Fair enough, because this is the role of the multiple choices, to give you the choice of how to shape the story, but throughout those choices, there may be correct and incorrect ones that leads you to different outcomes. How would you rate the original Fate Stay Night? Is it a mystery, or at least has some mystery elements?
It's definitely not a mystery title, but it has mystery elements, definitely. Okay. There's a lot of information that's very carefully guarded, some of which, some of which you try to figure out, like in the Fate route, how one important aspect is that you don't know caster's capabilities, so you're like, that affects your game plan, and that affects the choices you make. And Fate Stay Night, oh boy, they have a lot of choices, don't they?
Yes, although most of them have a very immediate, okay, you died, pick a better choice, split, so they have immediate resolution of your choices, although there are some that are delayed. I think the one in Heaven's Feel, if I remember correctly, if you don't pick correct choices throughout early game, at some point you will get the ending that says literally not enough love. Pick better choices.
Oh man, that used to be a classic of the earlier visual novels, the whole relationship points. And every so often you'd come across a point check, and it's like, hey, have you built up your relationship points with this character enough? It's like, yes, you get to continue. No, here's an automatic bad ending.
I mean, I remember that one specifically because in Fate Stay Night they have the humorous Taiga Dojo, and Taiga literally calls the player saying, not enough love. And that's so hilarious.
Yes, yes. If only every other mystery VN was so easy to solve.
Yeah, how come detectives don't know you need just enough love to solve any mystery and any killing, okay?
Exactly. Just woo every character you see,
Yeah,
and the mystery will sort itself out.
exactly. See, it's as easy as that.
And most importantly, in my opinion, you gotta have a satisfying ending to a mystery. Because it's not just about trying to tell a story with its morals, with the theme, with the character arcs, yada yada. You also need to give a satisfying explanation for the mystery that's arisen. You have to factor in that the clues should be building up to an answer. It should be a way to explain how the murder, how the theft, how the impersonation got away with it, and why it left behind all of those clues. And ideally, there should be a twist because, oh, everyone loves that. It's a new way of looking at things that you hadn't considered that suddenly puts it all in a new light. Because if you have a murder mystery and then there's no good ending to it, it's like, that's a letdown. It's like that was kind of the reward for going through all of this, the tease that you could have figured it out at any point earlier. There's got to be that satisfaction, right?
Exactly. Taurus, how were your recent reads on that front of satisfying ending?
Oh, not too much. I mean, you have a title like Shizuku, which is kind of a mystery, but not really. And then they kind of abandon all pretense of the detectiving halfway through. So that was unfortunate. And then you have Meteor World Actor, who also just never gets around to giving an ending. They just kind of, and it to be continued. No.
Don't forget Geminism. There was somewhere along the way.
Was Geminism a mystery? It had some elements, but would you say
Definitely had elements.
Yeah, okay.
Had elements. But I think maybe you're right. It's more on a thriller because a lot of the high points were in that combat, however unsatisfying the later fights been. It's hard to say, honestly. But it definitely had mystery elements.
That's something I can give credit for Ace Attorney. Is that Ace Attorney, their cases are generally, well constructed. They've got a lot of stuff going on between all the characters and the investigations and the arguing in court. And sometimes the cases are easier for you to figure out, than others. Some are easier than others. But especially some of their big finales, their biggest cases, the most memorable ones, they generally knock it out of the park.
Damn. I have two questions. I mean, maybe that's not one question, one observation from my side. But would you say then, from the recent endings, from the recent reads you've achieved, does it mean that the most satisfying one has been from the Nope-verse?
Nope, nurses. What are you bringing that one up for?
I don't know. Maybe it was a mysterious word with mysterious illnesses. Okay, maybe. Fine. But I wanted to ask.
Get out of here. What do you think you're doing, MR?
Definitely derailing. But when it comes to endings, especially with, as you said, a satisfying twist at the end or something that gives you a new perspective of what transpired. To me, it's unforgettable how Amatsutsumi had a great string of red herrings, and then final route ending was just phenomenal. And because it's hard to define given the fact that it's a ladder structure, the end doesn't really split as much as the traditional VN would, but the final route for the final character is just phenomenal. It ties everything together in a satisfying way.
Gotta stick the landing. Definitely.
Yep.
Strong hook,
Exactly. Although
a strong mystery, and then a strong ending.
I need to say it's hard to say if it's purely mystery, but definitely have mystery elements with what was going on all the time. But boy, did it test my patience along the way. Okay.
What title?
Definitely.
Which one?
Amatsutsumi. Amatsutsumi definitely tested my patience many times, but had amazing red herrings and delivered a very, very, very satisfying ending.
Very cool, very cool. So, I guess to wrap things up with your own opinion, MR, what's your favorite mystery VN that you've read?
That's a very hard question, purely from a mystery standpoint. I think, honestly, the one that I would feel comfortable calling a mystery would be between Nanayo Reincarnation or similar vein of detective work. I think 99 was very good. It had a central story plot spanning 4 episodes, and every single episode inched you closer to solving the overarching mystery. I think 99 was the most recent read that I really liked. But Nanayo Reincarnation is very high up there also.
Nice. As for me, this is going to sound similar, but it's not. It would be 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors.
Okay, so I said it 2 9s and you had to one up me by saying 3 9s. Okay, I see.
No, I was here first. Nuh-uh.
Okay, fine.
But yes, oh my gosh, 999 is such a great way of building the suspense as you're stuck on the sinking ship, forced to solve these saw kinds of puzzle traps with 8 other strangers. And along the way, things get weird, and this is much bigger than you could have thought. Yeah, I liked all the different ways that the mystery unfolded, all the different aspects. Oh, and again, having all the multiple choices and seeing wildly different routes, got to see so many different perspectives on things. And it all came together in a great ending. It was definitely still my favorite mystery VN.
Ding, ding, ding. Nice.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening. This has been about murder. Well, not necessarily, but that's always the easiest, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you killed it, okay?
All the elements that make up a good VN, especially when they relate to mystery titles. So I think it was very in-depth, and there's always more you could go into as well. And that's something to always appreciate out of any authors out there.
Yeah, true. And probably this is the best place to stop. Otherwise, Tauros will go on for a couple more hours longer. So thanks to all our listeners. Please share with us your favorite mystery visual novel, or maybe certain aspects you liked from non-mystery VN. And on that, venture out.
Venture out.